Well, it was going to be difficult for Penn State to beat Michigan State as a 2-touchdown underdog, Neil. But 14 seconds into the game, after a 90-yard kickoff return, you just had to figure it was an uphill challenge all day from that point.
Well, in my highs and lows, I was trying to figure out a worse call. And usually in a 4-touchdown game or a 4-score game, you don't really quibble over it. I think they should have taken the ball. They won the toss. They deferred. So that was the wrong decision. I'm half kidding, but maybe it would have shown some confidence in their offense. It sure wouldn't have been worse.
Well, what's interesting is, there was that, but they were down 13-0 in the second quarter. They had 3 consecutive series that started from the Michigan State 40, 41, and 36. The last one was the Zettel interception. Out of those 3 series that started in plus territory, they managed 3 points.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, you have no chance against a good team when you score 3 points in those 3 series.
Yeah, I mean, I think for the first half, their average field position was like their own 42, which really, I mean, they were complaining about their field position early in the year when their offense was struggling. But you're absolutely right. Had they been able to connect to Godwin late in the first half, there's about 45 seconds left. Hackenberg threw a good pass. Godwin actually made a nice adjustment, but he just couldn't bring it in. It's kind of been the story of the season.
And their kid made a good catch on the interception. Yeah. Give credit to their kid for making the interception.
That's a good football team they played today. I mean, maybe the most well-rounded team they played all year.
All right, well, the problems, though, the offense and the special teams, you just think that you're going to improve as a football team. 12 weeks into the season, I think Penn State's a worse football team than it was that I saw in Ireland against Central Florida. Now, the defense was fantastic all year, and you got to give a lot of credit to the defense and Bob Shoop. But the offense got worse. The special teams clearly got worse. I can't imagine worse special teams play than this Penn State team has had. You just didn't see any progress from this team.
No doubt about it. One news item, immediately, because Christian Hackenberg's dad made some comments, kind of left the door at least open to the consideration of a transfer. A lot of people have been talking about that, maybe fearing that he might leave based on the way the offense is. Can he develop? He was blessed with a great quarterback coach last year. Is James Franklin even comfortable with the kind of drop-back passer? A lot of questions, but anyway, Christian nipped that story. He said that he's happy here at Penn State. He said he loves the team, he loves the teammates, the university, planned to be here. So, and there was some, he felt that the story wasn't really a story, but hey, you have 107,000 people, not today, but you have the following that Penn State has, and if a father gives an interview, it's going to be news.
All right, well, but here's the difference between these two teams that showed up clearly in this game. Michigan State has an excellent offensive line that gave Connor Cook a lot of time. Christian Hackenberg doesn't have that. Michigan State has very good running backs that can work behind that offensive line and have a big game. Jeremy Langford, his 9th consecutive 100-yard game. Penn State doesn't really have that. Michigan State also has tremendous pass blocking running backs. Anytime Penn State would send a guy, they would pick him up on the blitz. Penn State doesn't have that. Those are the elements that Christian Hackenberg is going to have if he's going to improve next year.
Yeah, and so much of it is system. I mean, we saw last year Akeel Lynch. Nobody could understand why Akeel Lynch wasn't playing. Well, in Bill O'Brien's system, you have to be able to pass block as running back in order to make all the parts work. You saw Deshaun Hamilton had a really good first half of the season. None of the receivers are getting the kind of separation that they got. Maybe it's quality competition, whatever. And you also look at they slowly were eroding with injuries. You saw Brandon Bell's been injured, Kaiser was injured. There's been a lot of different situations they've had to deal with. Adds up to 6-6.
We're going to address this in another video during the bowl hiatus, and we'll talk about the bowl stuff as well. But most people thought this was going to be the bottoming out year of the sanctions. It is. They're 6-6. So if you could have gone back 3 months ago and said they're going to be 6-6, most people probably would have thought, okay, that's where I thought. But to me, the journey to get to 6-6 has just been so incredibly disappointing. You see a franchise quarterback struggle. You see offense and special teams struggle. So 6-6 might have looked okay 3 months ago, but the way they got to 6-6 to me is pretty troubling.
No, I agree. I mean, you know, they got there by going 2-6, and they got worse offensively, and it feels worse than 6-6, and it has raised more questions than it's answered. So it's going to be an interesting offseason. I don't get the idea that James Franklin is the kind of guy that's going to sit down. You know, the one thing about Joe, when, you know, for many years he would always let's everybody calm down, take a big look. I don't know that James Franklin is going to do that. I don't think a lot of college programs, you know, have the same coaches for year in and year out. We'll be interested to see whether there'll be any staff movement or change.
All right, for Neil Rudel, I'm Cory Geiger. Kristen Nelson on our video. We'll do another one of these going into the bowl game, but there is another game left and a chance to end the season on a more positive note than we saw today.